that the president looks forward to working with Republicans, presumably once they get their leadership sorted out. Now that we do have a new Congress in place, though, what is the first order of business where the president does look to try and work with Republicans?
So I'm not going to get into specifics on what the policies or pieces of legislation is going to look like. We're going to wait for the new Congress to kind of settle in and get themselves situated. But what I will say is that the president has always been very clear. He's been clear when he was a president. He was clear when he was U.S. Senator. He was clear on the campaign trail that he's willing to work with Republicans who are willing to continue to deliver for the American people. And it's not just him. This is what the American public said very loudly and clearly after the midterms. They want us to work on a common ground to deliver on the needs of what's important for them and to do it in the way that we're building the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, as the president has said many times. And he wants to make sure we reward hard work and do this so that, for people who are playing by the rules. And so this is very important. We want to make sure that we address national security concerns and keep the American people safe. And so, some of you may have seen the president and the first lady on New Year's Eve. They were on your network, and you heard the president. It was just something that he says all the time. He's an optimistic person. He is very optimistic on what lies ahead and how we're going to move our country forward.
Does the president see this leadership fight and have any takeaways from it in terms of whether it may make it more difficult to work with Republicans in getting any of these things done?
I will say this. As you all know, we're going to go to Kentucky, as I just mentioned. We announced it a couple of days ago, clearly, that he's going to go there. It's going to be done in a bipartisan fashion. The bipartisan infrastructure legislation, the biggest infrastructure investment since 1950s. You think about the most significant gun reform in almost 30 years. You think about major China competitiveness legislation that's already bringing more manufacturing jobs back to America, and key help for veterans who were exposed to toxic chemicals in the line of duty. Those are things that the president has been able. Those are the historic pieces of legislation that the president has been able to do in a bipartisan fashion. And let's not forget, there are 200 pieces of legislation that was done in a bipartisan way in the first 2 years of his administration. So again, he's optimistic. We're going to see that bipartisanship tomorrow in Kentucky when we're out in the region, and I think that's incredibly important.